It was a cold, rainy night in the city when Claire met Jonathan, the CEO of a major corporation. Claire had been working as a freelance designer for several years, struggling to make ends meet. Despite her talent, her career had not taken off as she had hoped, and she found herself at a crossroads, trying to balance her dreams with the demands of daily life. That night, she had attended a high-profile corporate gala where Jonathan was the guest of honor. The event was a dazzling display of wealth and sophistication, but Claire felt out of place, her designer dress feeling like an inadequate shield against her insecurities. Jonathan, charismatic and effortlessly charming, was surrounded by an entourage of influential guests. His presence commanded attention, and Claire was struck by his magnetic aura. Feeling both out of her depth and disillusioned with her career, Claire sought solace at the open bar. Jonathan noticed her, intrigued by her striking beauty and the melancholy in her eyes. He approached her with a smile, and they struck up a conversation. The chemistry between them was palpable, and as the night wore on, their conversation deepened. One thing led to another, and they found themselves alone in a quiet corner of the venue. The attraction was undeniable, and despite Claire's initial reservations, she found herself drawn to Jonathan. They shared an intimate moment, a passionate kiss that quickly escalated into a one-night stand. Claire knew it was reckless, but the intensity of the moment overpowered her. As they parted ways the next morning, neither of them anticipated the profound impact this encounter would have on their lives. A few weeks after their encounter, Claire discovered she was pregnant. The news was both overwhelming and terrifying. She had no way of contacting Jonathan. They had exchanged no personal information other than fleeting introductions. Alone and uncertain, Claire decided to keep the baby and make a fresh start away from the city that had become a reminder of her unfulfilled dreams and her brief, ill-fated encounter with Jonathan. Claire moved to a small, picturesque town several hours away, seeking a new beginning. She found a modest apartment and started working as a freelance designer for local clients. Her days were filled with the demands of motherhood and the struggle to build her career from scratch. The small town offered a sense of peace and anonymity that Claire desperately needed. As her son, Ethan, grew, Claire's resolve to provide him with a stable and loving environment became her driving force. Though she missed the vibrant city life and the excitement of her career, Claire found solace in the simplicity of her new life. The bond she shared with Ethan was her greatest joy, and she poured all her energy into raising him with love and dedication. Her design skills flourished in the new setting, and she gained a reputation for her unique, creative work. 6 years later, Claire's life had settled into a rhythm. Her work was thriving, and Ethan was growing into a bright and curious boy. Fate took a turn when Claire received an invitation to a local charity gala. The event was a significant opportunity to showcase her designs and potentially expand her network. Claire, hesitant but determined, decided to attend. The evening was abuzz with excitement, and as Claire mingled among the guests, she was unexpectedly greeted by Jonathan. He had recently taken an interest in charitable work and was a prominent supporter of the event. The moment their eyes met, Claire's heart skipped a beat. Jonathan, on the other hand, felt a strange sense of déjà vu, though he couldn't immediately place why. They exchanged polite pleasantries, and Jonathan was struck by Claire's beauty and grace. Claire, although nervous, maintained her composure. As they talked, Jonathan couldn't shake the feeling that he had encountered Claire before. He admired her work and invited her to his private table, where their conversation continued. Unbeknownst to them, Ethan had joined the event with Claire. As the evening progressed, Jonathan noticed the boy's resemblance to himself, a reflection of his own features. Intrigued and puzzled, Jonathan struck up a conversation with Ethan, who was shy but endearing. Jonathan couldn't help but feel an unusual connection with the child, a sense of familiarity that he couldn't explain. The connection between Jonathan, Claire, and Ethan grew stronger as the evening unfolded. Jonathan was captivated by Claire's talent and the warmth she radiated. He found himself drawn to her, and their conversations became increasingly personal. They spoke of dreams, past regrets, and the future, finding common ground despite their different worlds. Ethan, meanwhile, seemed to take to Jonathan effortlessly. They shared a playful rapport that Jonathan found both surprising and delightful. The boy's presence reminded Jonathan of his own childhood, a time he had long forgotten. He felt an inexplicable bond with Ethan, though he couldn't quite understand why. As the night came to a close, Jonathan expressed his desire to see Claire and Ethan again. He invited them to visit his company's headquarters, offering a professional opportunity for Claire to showcase her designs. Claire, both intrigued and wary, agreed, sensing a chance for her career to grow. Jonathan's gesture was more than just professional. He felt a strong, unexplainable pull toward Claire and Ethan. The connection they had was undeniable, and Jonathan couldn't help but feel that there was something significant about their bond. The following weeks were filled with excitement and uncertainty. Claire and Ethan visited Jonathan's company, where Claire's designs were met with great enthusiasm. Jonathan was impressed by her talent and work ethic, and he started involving her in high-profile projects. Their professional relationship flourished, and Claire's career began to take off. During this time, Jonathan and Claire's interactions became more frequent and personal. They shared dinners, collaborated on projects, and their connection grew deeper. Ethan often accompanied Claire to the office, and Jonathan's bond with the boy continued to strengthen. One evening, while working late at the office, Jonathan found a personal file containing details about Claire. As he read through the information, he stumbled upon a mention of Ethan's birth date. A chilling realization struck him. Ethan was the same age as the child he had conceived with Claire years ago. The pieces fell into place, and Jonathan was stunned. He had unknowingly been building a close relationship with his own son. The revelation left Jonathan conflicted. He knew he had to confront Claire, but was unsure of how to approach the situation. He decided to keep the information to himself for a while longer, wanting to understand his feelings and the implications of the truth. Meanwhile, he continued to deepen his relationship with Claire and Ethan, all the while wrestling with the knowledge of their true connection. As Jonathan and Claire spent more time together, their feelings for each other grew stronger. Jonathan found himself captivated not only by Claire's talent and beauty, but also by the depth of her character. Her strength, resilience, and the love she had for Ethan were qualities he admired deeply. He began to realize that his feelings for Claire were more than just attraction. They were genuine, profound, and rooted in a deep emotional connection. Claire, too, found herself falling for Jonathan. Despite the complicated circumstances, she couldn't ignore the way he made her feel. Their time together was filled with laughter, shared dreams, and mutual respect. The bond between Jonathan and Ethan continued to grow, and Jonathan found joy in being a part of Ethan's life. Jonathan's struggle with the truth became increasingly difficult. He wanted to be honest with Claire, but feared that revealing his knowledge of their true relationship would jeopardize the love they were building. He continued to perform small acts of kindness for Ethan and Claire, trying to show his commitment to them without revealing the full extent of his feelings. The connection between Jonathan and Ethan was undeniable. They shared moments of joy, understanding, and a natural ease that Jonathan had never experienced before. The bond between them was unmistakable, and Jonathan found himself longing for a future with Claire and Ethan. As the months passed, Jonathan's internal struggle grew. He could no longer ignore the strong connection he felt with Ethan and the undeniable resemblance between them. He decided to conduct a DNA test in secret, hoping to confirm his suspicions and find clarity. The test results came back, confirming that Jonathan was indeed Ethan's biological father. The revelation was both exhilarating and daunting. Jonathan was overjoyed to know that he had a son, but was also anxious about how to navigate this newfound truth. Determined to make things right, Jonathan decided to confront Claire with the truth. He knew that honesty was the only way forward, and he wanted to be open about his feelings and intentions. He also wanted to ensure that Ethan knew the truth about his father. One evening, Jonathan invited Claire and Ethan to his home for dinner. The atmosphere was warm and welcoming, and Jonathan had planned a special evening to express his feelings. As they sat down to eat, Jonathan felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. After dinner, Jonathan took Claire aside and revealed the truth about the DNA test. He explained how he had discovered Ethan's true parentage and how it had affected him. He expressed his deep feelings for Claire and his desire to be a part of Ethan's life in a meaningful way. Claire was shocked and overwhelmed by the revelation. She struggled to process the information and felt a mix of emotions: anger, confusion, and a sense of betrayal. She had built a life for herself and Ethan without Jonathan, and the sudden revelation of his true identity was difficult to accept. Jonathan apologized for his secrecy and expressed his genuine love for both Claire and Ethan. He assured her that he wanted to be a father to Ethan and to build a future. As Claire and Jonathan continued to navigate their renewed relationship, they focused on rebuilding the trust that had been fractured by years of separation. Both were committed to open communication and honesty, determined not to let misunderstandings or doubts cloud their future together. Jonathan made a concerted effort to be more present in Claire and Ethan's lives. He would spend evenings at their home, helping Ethan with homework, cooking dinners together with Claire, and simply enjoying the time they spent as a family. These small, everyday moments helped to solidify their bond and build a sense of normalcy. Claire, while still cautious, found herself gradually letting her guard down. The more time she spent with Jonathan, the more she remembered the qualities she had fallen in love with years ago: his kindness, his intelligence, and his unwavering dedication to the people he loved. Slowly but surely, the wounds of the past began to heal, and Claire started to trust that this time, things would be different. Ethan, oblivious to the complexities of his parents' relationship, flourished in the presence of both his mother and father. He was delighted by the attention and love he received from Jonathan, and the bond between them continued to grow stronger. The connection he had with Jonathan was natural, as though they had always been father and son. As the months passed, Claire and Jonathan's relationship blossomed. They began to plan for the future, discussing their dreams and aspirations. Claire's design career continued to thrive, and with Jonathan's support, she began to take on larger, more prestigious projects. Jonathan, in turn, found a renewed sense of purpose in both his professional and personal life. The love he had for Claire and Ethan became his driving force, and he was determined to create a life that reflected the happiness he felt. One evening, as they sat together on the porch of Claire's home, watching Ethan play in the yard, Jonathan took Claire's hand and looked into her eyes. "I love you, Claire," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. "I know I've made mistakes, and I know it's taken us a long time to get here, but I want to spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I want us to be a family, officially." Claire felt a lump form in her throat as she listened to Jonathan's heartfelt words. She knew that he meant every word, and she realized that she, too, wanted nothing more than to spend her life with him. "I love you too, Jonathan," she replied softly. "And I want that too, for us to be a family, for Ethan to have both his parents together." Jonathan smiled and reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. Claire's breath caught in her throat as he opened it, revealing a stunning diamond ring. "Claire, will you marry me?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly with emotion. Tears welled up in Claire's eyes as she nodded. "Yes, Jonathan, I'll marry you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Jonathan slipped the ring onto her finger, and they embraced, both of them overwhelmed with happiness and relief. The weeks leading up to the wedding were filled with excitement and anticipation. Claire and Jonathan decided to keep the ceremony intimate, inviting only close friends and family. They wanted the day to be a celebration of their love and the journey they had taken to get to this point. Claire's design skills came in handy as she planned the details of the wedding. She chose a beautiful outdoor venue surrounded by lush gardens, where they would exchange their vows under the open sky. The theme of the wedding was simple elegance, with soft pastel colors, delicate floral arrangements, and touches of vintage charm. Ethan was overjoyed to be a part of the preparations. He took his role as ring bearer very seriously, practicing walking down the aisle with a look of concentration that made both Claire and Jonathan smile. He was excited about the wedding, thrilled at the idea of his parents getting married and the three of them becoming a real family. As the day of the wedding approached, Claire found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. There had been so many obstacles, so many moments of doubt and uncertainty, but they had made it through together. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the love and support that Jonathan had shown her, and for the joy that Ethan had brought into their lives. The wedding day arrived, and the weather was perfect, warm and sunny, with a gentle breeze that rustled the leaves in the trees. Claire felt a sense of calm as she prepared for the ceremony, surrounded by her closest friends who helped her into her dress and fussed over the final details. When she stepped out into the garden, the sight took her breath away. The venue had been transformed into a magical setting, with twinkling lights strung between the trees, delicate flowers lining the aisle, and soft music playing in the background. Claire's heart swelled with emotion as she saw Jonathan waiting for her at the end of the aisle, a look of pure love and happiness on his face. As Claire walked down the aisle, arm in arm with her father, she couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the significance of the moment. This was the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, one that was filled with love, hope, and the promise of a bright future. The ceremony was beautiful and heartfelt. Jonathan and Claire exchanged vows that they had written themselves, words that spoke of their love, their journey, and their commitment to each other and to Ethan. There wasn't a dry eye in the audience as they spoke, and when they finally sealed their vows with a kiss, the applause and cheers from their loved ones filled the air. Ethan was beaming with pride as he stood beside them, holding the rings that symbolized their union. Jonathan and Claire both knelt down to include Ethan in the ceremony, presenting him with a small ring of his own to signify their bond as a family. It was a moment of pure joy, and Ethan's happiness was evident in the way he hugged both of his parents tightly. After the wedding, Claire and Jonathan settled into their new life as husband and wife. They moved into a beautiful home that had enough space for both of their work and for Ethan to play and grow. The house was filled with warmth, love, and laughter, a testament to the family they had become. Jonathan continued to be an involved and loving father, spending as much time as he could with Ethan. He attended school events, helped with homework, and was always there to offer guidance and support. The bond between father and son continued to grow, and it was clear to everyone that they shared a special connection. Claire's career continued to flourish, and with Jonathan's encouragement, she expanded her design business, taking on more ambitious projects and even starting her own line of products. She found fulfillment in both her work and her family, knowing that she had finally found the balance she had always sought. As the years passed, Claire and Jonathan's love for each other only deepened. They faced challenges together, always supporting and encouraging one another. Their home was filled with love, and they made sure that Ethan always felt secure, cherished, and loved. One evening, as they sat together on the porch of their home, watching the sunset, Jonathan took Claire's hand and smiled at her. "I never thought I'd be this happy," he said softly. "Thank you for giving me a second chance, Claire. Thank you for making our family whole." Claire leaned her head on his shoulder and smiled. "I never thought I'd be this happy either," she replied, "but I'm glad we found our way back to each other. I love you, Jonathan." "I love you too, Claire," Jonathan said, kissing her forehead. "Always." As they sat there, watching the sky turn from shades of orange to deep purple, they both knew that they had found their happily ever after. Their journey had been long and filled with twists and turns, but it had led them to a place of love, joy, and contentment. Together, they watched as Ethan ran across the yard, chasing fireflies and laughing with delight. The sight filled their hearts with happiness, knowing that their love had created a beautiful, loving family. And as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Claire and Jonathan knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, with love and with the strength of the family they had built. And so, their story continued, a tale of love, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bond of family, proving that even after all the challenges and heartache, they had found their happily ever after. Hope you enjoyed this story. Don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel. Your participation is essential so that we can continue to bring you more incredible stories. Share it with your friends to help our channel grow. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.